Hey everybody, this is Irma Barati. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are literally 9 days away from election. Not just for the presidency, but there are a lot of contentious races on the local and state level. Today we have with us Maria Vismale, who is running for Baltimore City Council District 5. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much, Ermin, for having me. It's 9 days away, so we are days away from probably one of the most historic races, especially as it relates to councilmatic in my district, Baltimore City. So I'm so excited, and I really appreciate you having me.
Of course, I like to give everybody a fair shake at speaking, and because not everyone is going to be displayed in the media.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk to individuals who may not have that platform in which they get to speak freely without being judged based on their political ideologies. Because you are an African American woman who is running on a Republican ticket, which is interesting because in Baltimore this year, we have something called the Baltimore Nine, um, in which there are 9, 10. You can count them. I think there's multiple ones, but a variety of Black candidates who are running on the Republican ticket, which is an interesting statement coming from Baltimore, right? Because historically, it's been a very blue city in a very blue state. So I did want to reach out to you and talk about your platform. What do you believe in? Free of judgment, just you and I speaking. No one's here to interrupt you. So Maria, let's talk about your upbringing. How did you become political? How did you get to politics? But also, what was your upbringing like? Were you born in Baltimore? Where were you from?
Yeah, so I'm actually a third generation Baltimorean. I was born here. I went to school here. I've been here all my life. At a very, very young age, you'll find that my dad and my mom, and my family actually are just natural born activists. So my dad, he marched in the Million Man March. He named me Maria Mandela Vismale after the global activist Nelson Mandela. My mom is a 20-year teacher, and they just instilled in me, along with my grandparents, to really just fight for your community and let your voice be heard. I'm just of the ideology, look, don't complain unless you're going to put in the work. And so I've always had that, understanding that yes, when you're dissatisfied and you want to change the status quo, complain, voice your concerns, protest. However, that also means getting out there, working with the leaders, making sure you're in the community, fighting for the rights of your fellow man. And really, at this point in time, as an individual who completely is just frustrated and upset with my community, taking a stand and running for office to really solidify the efforts I've made and the continued work I do to change my community for the better.
Now, you told me before the recording that your district, District 5, is a highly contested district. Why is that?
So I'm actually historically if elected, would be the first African American candidate to hold the seat for my district. And, I'm always working with various religious groups, various, socioeconomic residents who, affiliate from affluent to, low income. And this particular district, it's known that there are two sides of District 5. And so you will find that in the past, leadership has ignored, it's a known area south of Northern Parkway, and the resources allocated are inferior. And so what happens in District 5, you have an area where you'll go to one part and you're like, oh my, wow, I'm in, I'm not in the city, the quote unquote city, because people just associate it with just problems and crime and just, really negative, just perception. And then you go to the other side and you're like, whoa, what's going on? This place, has crumbling infrastructure. This place is just really lacking, the quality of life. You have so many people that are barely making it. And so seeing that and being kind of in the middle, growing up in Grove Park, going to Western High School, speaking in front of city council at 17, where I urged City Hall to allocate money to youth rec centers, I noticed that, but I just had the optimism that somebody would come along and say, we're going to end this. This is not right. And unfortunately, that's not happened. And, I'm 31 now, and I had to put my foot down. I worked as a criminal defense investigator. And when, I was working there, I saw clients who were predominantly Black, who were coming from all parts, and they were just, really lacking the tools, whether it be education, whether it be, economic status, or even employment opportunities. And that's what I'm seeing on the other side of the district. And I'm really aiming, my model is to heal, help elevate a life, but help elevate, lives south of Northern Parkway and North and Northern Parkway, to unify and bring the city, the district, back to what I know it can be.
Now, Maria, before we go to my next question, I see the classy look. You look very classy today, so I'm going to join you in that. I'm going to join you in that. And
Classes
put on
unite.
here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Hopefully, I look as smart as you.
Oh no, thank you.
Now, let's look at your platform. I see on your site there are three main points to your platform: crime, enhance education, and to improve economy. So let's go to each one of those. Talk about what you plan on doing should you be elected. So let's start with crime.
So public safety is so crucial, for obviously preserving and keeping the residents of District 5 safe. And my experience as a former criminal defense investigator, I can take a holistic approach. So right now, I always like to tell people, I'm a bipartisan leader. I've worked with all people, whether Democrat, Independent, or Republican. And what I've seen is, in engaging with voters, people are afraid and have not built the necessary rapport with stakeholders, primarily, police officers, where they feel comfortable. And then on the other side, in Baltimore City, we have issues with, obviously, being under consent decree, stakeholders, the police, having the resources, having the ability to do their jobs, having the ability, to really connect with residents, like they should be able to do. And so my platform overall, each individual idea has the approach of holistic, attack on, let's get to the bottom of this and solve it. So one, I want to direct monies to improving the relationship with neighborhood improvement associations and also, the police. The neighborhood associations have and play a huge role in getting the information, and also, working with, obviously, law enforcement to help the community stay safe, to report crimes, to let us know what's going on. And if we have a great relationship after talking to, the Northern and Northwest police districts that, surveil my area, we can do, so many things to improve what we've seen. And more recently, it's been in the news, it's been covered. Unfortunately, so many youth this past weekend were murdered, and they, suffered due to gun violence. And so if we have community policing, if we also have uh, people in place, and I want to work with primarily the state's attorney to have people still held accountable for committing these heinous crimes. So, in working with judges and attorneys, we have to have people who are, held accountable, and the sentence has to be congruent with the crime. So it can't be, we're just working on the social justice aspect of it. I had the privilege of going to a George Floyd nonviolent protest. I had the privilege of speaking to residents who feel they need, more communication and more training, and they want more transparency with the police officers. But I also noticed that people are upset because it's like, unfortunately, some people that commit heinous crimes are not, being, held accountable. And if you have somebody that is continuously a repeat offender, that is out on the streets, that is not being held accountable, the violence continues. Coupled with that, I definitely have to focus my efforts on, obviously, building the rapport, enhancing, the resources to officers. But then the next step of that is we have to look at education and reform that system as well. So it's been, again, widely known in Baltimore City that unfortunately there are students that graduate with the math and reading levels from high school of an eighth grader. This is high school graduates going out into the workforce who either drop out, or if they make it through, they're just pushed through without having the necessary tools to compete. That's insane. That's disgusting. That's horrible. And I come from a family of educators. My mom, 20 years, my grandfather, 30 years before he retired, God rest his soul. And they told me the number one thing is not only getting parents involved, but having audits. And that's what I plan to do first day in office. We have to make sure we have the money. Look, I'm a bipartisan leader, so it's twofold. One is making sure we don't overspend, but two is making sure when we do spend, we spend smart and allocate monies responsibly. Because if you have infrastructure crumbling, if you have teachers that are not being able to properly do their job, you have students that are falling behind that we don't have training system or apprenticeships in place if they don't want to go to college, and that fails us. That you will continue to see people that are math and reading deficient. You will continue to see students that are not engaged. And right now we see that if you have, it's a direct correlation, studies have been done, if you have an education and you're able to go out then and use those tools to get a job, you're less likely to commit a crime. You have a great quality of life. You, respect and honor your environment. So you don't see trash. You don't see people that have a total disregard for the safety and well-being of others. And then lastly, that goes into the third thing that I'm trying to, really, really make sure I do when elected the first day is, in talking to voters, you have voters. You have residents that are city workers that are underpaid again and overworked. And if you have somebody barely making it, that is an essential worker, primarily transportation workers, primarily people that pick up trash, primarily people that are on our front lines, then you are doing a disservice to individuals, and you'll see this huge turnover, and we won't have people out there doing the jobs that require us to have a great quality of life. So making sure, again, we spend smart. You can't just give people $8, $6, $10 an hour to do jobs that require time and effort. Trash is a huge problem. The city workers that pick up trash are barely making minimum wage. Why is that? We don't need to give them, just $2, $3, $4, $5 increase. They need a substantial increase. And then we also need to put in place time and effort to keep residents from the local communities employed. So what's happening in Baltimore, and nobody wants to address this, oh, we'll get an outside contractor. Oh, we'll hire somebody else, when there are people that are unemployed that are trying to feed themselves, and the only option, which is why I understand this is a holistic approach, they have to resort to things that are counterproductive, crime or other things, to make it work. And that's why, holistically, it takes focusing on, the mental health. So getting the training, getting the therapist, getting the, social events that really cater to the needs of your mental psyche, but then also doing the physical work of, okay, we see folks that don't have these great 9-to-5s and are not making, 50, 60 grand, really helping them just stay above water so they can compete, so they can have equity, which we always talk about in this climate of social justice, that I'm a huge proponent of as first of all, a Black woman, and second of all, as a proponent of, reform all over. So understanding that these three things overlap, and not allowing the status quo to continue to give us crumbs, is what I really plan to focus on as, the first, Black woman, HBCU graduate, product of Baltimore public schools, who's firsthand experienced what's going on and is just sick and tired and won't allow it to continue.
Amazing. I know that was a mouthful. You went through all three of your points. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
really, really good stuff. So I have a question about Baltimore because, your colleague, Kim Klasick, put out a few videos that went viral. And so we got in from the outside looking in, we had a look behind the curtain of what's going on in Baltimore. So what is it that the rest of America sees about Baltimore? And what do you actually see living in Baltimore, being a candidate for a district? What do you actually see going on in Baltimore?
So that's a great question. If you come from my district, because that's really what I'm trying to focus on, a lot of people um, are sometimes confused at my vision, but my vision primarily is to focus on the residents of District 5. And then when the District 5 is up to par, it's unified, it has resolved the issues, then we can focus on the other districts, or then we can really partner with federal and national leadership to really change it nationally. But in District 5, what I see, what residents see, which is so alarming, is again, I want you to come here, and I will continue to just bring awareness through my outlets and platform. There are two District 5s. District 5 below Northern Parkway and District 5 above Northern Parkway. I was out talking to voters. This campaign trail has been phenomenal because you see that District 5 has a vast constituency and it's so socioeconomically diverse. And so you have houses which you'll go to in affluent communities that are in a bubble. They don't want to come to South the Northern Parkway side because they feel unsafe. It's not the beautiful, vast, provided for community. And you just get upset because it doesn't have to be that way. And then you have those that are, low income, that are trying to survive, that are marginalized, that see obviously the huge disparity, that said it's unfair. Why don't we have the same community resources? Why don't we have the infrastructure? Why don't we have the roads? Why don't we have the same leadership come out and talk to us? It was so upsetting, to say the least. And it just, I'm going to be frank, made me angry that so many people on one side of the track don't know who the leadership is, or have such bad taste in their mouth, because when they try to engage or when they try to reach out, they're overlooked and and written off. And so what I see is, we are the model, the actual model of the city. We have every race, every religion. We have, some of the most beautiful infrastructure. A lot of people don't know, but District 5, that's my home. And guess what? Pimlico Racetrack is in the center. Pimlico Racetrack, where everybody comes from all over the world to see the beautiful races. They just got $300 million plus grant to fix it up and build it up. But look, the schools that are suffering still need that money. The schools that are suffering still need that attention. The homes that are crumbling, the explosion, for instance, still needs to say, we have to put in place committees that make sure this never happens again. And ironically, it not only happened in my district, my neighboring district, District 6, it happened. So we need leaders to come together and unite and really not have these personal conflicts, because people, besides people that are really on the inside circuit, understand that there are people that don't want to work with other personalities, which is just not helpful if we live on bordering districts, So it's really understanding that although we're so vast and so diverse, people in District 5 are almost grouped. And depending on your zip code, your affiliation, and your status, that's how leadership in the past and currently decides to allocate time, resources, and attention. And that's just disgusting. That has to end. And that's again, going into it, the first thing I will change. I'm sick and tired of it. And so are voters. We're not allowing this to happen. And understanding seeing the frustration and division at this time. How can you let that happen? How can that still go on and we're in 2020? But
Right.
that's again because people like me have to run and have to make it so that it ends.
Now, I want to go back just a little bit. I would love to talk to you about that defining moment where you decided, okay, it's time for me to run. I'm looking at the city. There needs to be some change. What was that defining moment where you realized that I have to run for city office?
So I got a call from my mother, and she said, I just called the neighborhood association president. This is the third time this week that somebody has tried to break into my car. I was driving down, I will say, to go, because again, with the two sides of the district, I was driving down coming from a friend's house, and then I had to go just grab some food on another side of the district. The district is not huge, so you can get there pretty quickly. So maybe in a span of 10 minutes. And the first thing I noticed, I'm just looking around, just driving, and you just see I just entered a completely different area. I just entered a completely different quality of life. And so when my mom called me and just randomly a few days later, and I experienced that, and I had always been involved in the community. I've always been a part of the conversation and, making sure things are done to help the community. I said, why am I going crazy in my mind? Why am I complaining to my friends? Why am I complaining to my parents? Why am I talking to my neighbors and saying, oh, have you heard? I haven't heard anything, what's going on? Another year of this, or another, for city council, 4 years of this. And I said, at that moment, stop it. You can complain all you want, but if you don't do anything about it, it goes out the window. Just be quiet. So I went to file, and I just, after that, realized that this is no longer the talking game. This is, Maria, really simply put up or shut up. And so I just began doing what every candidate has to do, making calls, going out into the community, continuing to build relationships, and honestly being my authentic self and telling my true story. I understand that it's a hard pill to swallow if you come from a different political affiliation, that, okay, there's somebody in office who is not under your exact party. But with that being said, it's literally about what unites us. It's literally about what I've done, my experience since 10 years old till now. It's literally about what I continue to do and how I, unlike others, have made connections. It's so ironic. Even my, dad was a Democrat and my mom was a moderate, a Republican. And I work with every day. My campaign manager is a Democrat. I don't play this whole partisan, you have to be in lockstep with the values and ideas and rhetoric of every single person that's a Republican. That's not fair to me, because that would be like saying, because I'm a religious person, then I can't work with people that come from different ideologies. No, it's all about the quality and character of an individual. And that's that was the mindset of really understanding, yeah, we're pretty blue, but I've never had a conversation with anybody and the first thing I say is, before we even, say hello and get to know each other, all right, you're a Democrat, you're an independent, you're a Republican. All right, if you're not what is me, let's halt this and walk away. I've never been that way. So how can voters do that when they're dependent on quality leadership? So that's kind of what made me realize, although it may not be primarily what a lot of people see as, all right, the exact place that somebody like me should run. It's the person who I am individually, who has spoken out, that really got me excited and made me have to go and feel the need and become the representation that, again, we need and we crave.
You are the first politician or candidate that I know whose campaign manager is coming from a different party. That is very unique. You're literally the only person I know who does that, and I think that's really cool that people can reach across the aisle and say, hey, let's work together. I'm running for office. I would love to hear what you have to say, mixed in with what I believe in, and let's make things happen. Let's get things done. Let's get things done. I think that's amazing. With that being said, um, I do want to ask something that might be a little controversial, but let's go
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So we're in a very divisive time in which people will look at you and maybe say, "Hey, you're a woman, you're black. What are you doing running on a Republican ticket?" What response do you have to them?
It's so simple. You're not running for a Republican. You're running for Maria Mandela Vismale, a advocate, a leader, and most importantly, a child of God who loves everyone, no matter what affiliation, no matter what value, and most important, with politics involved, no matter what political affiliation. If you want change, if you want to see your schools get better, if you want to see you having, your bills be able to be affordable and you be able to keep your equity, if you want to see that you, your neighbors, and everyone in the district have access to quality public safety, then you take a look at my background. You take a look at me graduating from an HBCU. You take a look at me working with people of all affiliations. I'm not the person, and that's what I think is the problem in politics, that says, again, if she's a Democrat, if she's a Republican, if she's a Green Party person, if she's unaffiliated, then hey, I can't talk to her. Hey, we can't build a bridge, because that's the only way we solve problems. I know an elected that I have to, it's not a question, work with people, as I've always done, who have different ways to solutions that are across the aisle to be successful. You don't get into city council. A lot of people don't know this. You don't even get into city council and say, hey, I'm going to put a law out, and because I'm in city council, I got elected. All right, the bill will be passed. That's not how it works. You have to have the skills to build relationships, to encourage people, and to articulate that this is helpful to bring change and solutions to the community. So I say, look, you're not voting for anybody but Maria Vismale. So take that out of your mind, because if you continue to say, label, oh, okay, she's of this mindset that's just of one way, then you will literally lose a leader or the opportunity to see change, especially since nothing has changed in the last 40. Well, I'm 31, so in the last 30 years that I've been living here, it's been on the decline.
Amazing, Maria. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Before we go, I want to give you this opportunity to. It'll just be you on the screen. I'm gonna give you as much time as you want with just you on the screen. Talk to your potential constituents, talk to voters in Baltimore District 5, and just say what you want to say. If there's something on your mind you want to get across, then by all means take this time to use it. So as much time as you want, I will give you the opportunity to speak directly to those who live in Baltimore. So I'm gonna give you when I give you a thumbs up, feel free to start talking. Give me 1 second here, and the floor is yours.
So again, my name is Maria Mandela Vismale, and I'm running for Baltimore City Council for District 5. For too long, people have been forgotten, and we need to unify. It's very simple. I'm a bipartisan leader who is looking to bring change. Residents have seen we have not had the representation that we crave and need. Public safety is suffering, education, families are suffering, jobs are suffering. And unless we vote this election come November 3rd, or early voting or mail-in voting, we will continue to see subpar leadership and subpar quality of life for all. Very simply, you can go to my website, www.votevismale.com. I understand that people are sick and tired and frustrated just like me. I will not leave you. I will not play partisanship. I will only aim to heal, which is help elevate a life. with that said, I think every single person that's going to go out and do the job that a lot of people ignore, and that's vote on the person who matters to help you have the best quality of life you seek, city council. So vote Vismale November 3rd. Understand that you have somebody in office who looks like you, who represents you, and who will definitely change for us all.
Maria, thank you so much for your time. No matter what happens on November 3rd, hopefully we stay friends. I would love to stay.
Yes, absolutely.
And like I said, no matter what happens, best of luck with everything coming your way. And I know you'll do great should you be elected. So thank you so much for your
Thank you
time.
so much for having
Now
me. I appreciate you.
we'll stay in touch and talk to you later.
All right, talk